Okay, so dear colleagues, thank you very much for joining NACA webinar on cross-border quality assurance in Ukraine. First of all, I would like to say many thanks to our distinguished speakers who agreed to participate and to contribute to this webinar. And responded positively to NACA initiative to hold webinar on cross-border quality assurance. I just would like to let everybody know that we have more than 100 registered participants, and I see people are joining the room, but we're also going to record the session, this webinar, and the webinar will be available at NACA website and NACA YouTube channel. So please be aware that we conduct a recording of the webinar. So I suppose we can start. It is my pleasure to give the floor to NACA head, Andriy Butenko. Andriy, the floor is yours.
Natalia, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, dear colleagues and partners. Welcome to our webinar on cross-border accreditation in Ukraine. I'm very happy to see so many professionals from higher education institutions and so many very important and famous people in the European quality assurance area. My name is Andriy Butenko. I am the head of the National Agency of Higher Education Quality Assurance of Ukraine, and I am honored to open this important event. Today, we will talk about how Ukrainian universities can work with European partners to improve quality and trust in education. Cross-border accreditation helps higher education institutions to improve their own management system and grow their own study programs. Ukraine is work hard to become part of the European education space. We want our higher education to be recognized in other countries. We also want our university to gain the best European experience and share their own ideas. This webinar is a great opportunity to do this. During our meeting, we will discuss Ukrainian approach to cross-border accreditation, why it is important for Ukrainian university and European agencies, how we can work together to make it better. We will discuss the requirements of Ukrainian legislation and acquire and anchor rules about this. We believe this cooperation is key. When we share knowledge and build strong partnerships, we help students success and make education stronger. Thank you for joining us today. I hope this webinar will be useful, interesting, and full new ideas. Let's begin together. Let's start.
Thank you very much, Andriy. So, colleagues, I think we can start, and I would like to, first of all, I will let you know that we have some presentations, and we expect dynamic approach because each speaker has up to 10 minutes to present the experience. And I will start with brief introduction to cross-border quality assurance in Ukraine and some practical tips for foreign agencies. And then we will also ask our colleagues from Acquire and ENCA to share their considerations on cross-border quality assurance. And of course, we got many questions from you regarding best practices. What are best practices of cross-border quality assurance in Ukraine? And we invited our colleagues from Arachis, Haka, and Ziva to present best practices because they are experienced in cross-border quality assurance in Ukraine. Next slide, please. So, first of all, I would like to mention that together with invitation to participate this webinar, we shared with you the recent publication, NACA publication on cross-border quality assurance in higher education in Ukraine. So we created it as a practical guide for foreign agencies which are going to conduct cross-border quality assurance in Ukraine. And also the second part is for Ukrainian universities which are seeking for foreign accreditations. So you're very welcome to use this QR code which leads you to this publication at NACA website, and it contains some details. Next slide, please. So I also would like to stress that Ukrainian quality assurance system, external quality assurance system, is very open, and I suppose it is one of the most open in the world because we have. We recognize foreign accreditations, study programs, accreditations of acquired registered agencies as replacement for the NACA, for the national accreditation. So this is very useful for universities from one side, but also creates a number of challenges, and which we would like to discuss with colleagues and also share practices in this regard. This slide is just brief reminders that we base our approach, Ukrainian approach to cross-border quality assurance recognition on the key documents, which is one of the key documents is key considerations for CBQA in the European higher education area. This is very famous document which is located on the websites of ENCA, EQUAR, European Students' Union, European Universities Association, and some other stakeholders. We also, of course, this is the key document for both internal and external quality assurance in Ukraine and in here. This is ESG 2015, so this is highly considered, and all our procedures are aligned to this document, and also European approach for quality assurance of joint programs. Next slide, please. We also have some recommendations and documents regarding the cross-border quality assurance at national level. We have list of foreign accreditation agencies recognized in Ukraine. You have this QR code, which will lead you to the list of these agencies. So these are most acquired registered agencies. They are 49 acquired registered agencies are in this list currently. This list is approved by the government, by the cabinet of ministers of Ukraine, and these agencies can conduct study programs accreditations in Ukraine, and their accreditations replace the national accreditation. And also we have regulations on accreditation of study programs in higher education. This is regulations for all study programs across all disciplines and fields, and we have a separate part of these regulations devoted to cross-border quality assurance and European approach. Next slide, please. On the next slide, you can see the logos of those agencies, acquired registered agencies, who have already or which have already accredited at least one study program in Ukraine. You can see quite a lot of agencies, but also there are two agencies which conducted institutional accreditation. This is HAKA, Estonian agency HAKA, and also Hungarian agency MAB. As I mentioned, officially it is recognized just study programs accreditations, but for enhancement approach, these agencies have conducted institutional accreditations, and you also will hear about this experience from colleagues from HAKA today. Next slide, please. Because we have almost 6 years of experience in cross-border quality assurance in Ukraine by foreign agencies, I would like to share briefly to share some statistics. You can see that within this almost 6 years, foreign agencies have accredited 72 master programs, so they are most popular in terms of foreign accreditations. Then 59 bachelor study programs and 6 PhD programs. Next slide, please. This you can see how accreditations of foreign agencies split across the study fields. You can see the most of them are in management, also in psychology, in economics, law, and also medicine are very popular to be accredited by foreign agencies. Next slide, please. Also, you can see how they split it each year. So we started and recognized two study programs in 2019, and then the number of foreign accreditations increased in 2020, 2021. Then, due to the war, which started in February 2022, the number decreased, and now we see the number of foreign accreditations is increasing, and we expect that by the end of the year we will reach the same amount as it was in 2021, because within 6 months 23 study programs accreditations in 2025 have been accredited by foreign agencies. Next slide, please. We have some recommendations. So it's like checklist. Of course, you have more detailed explanations in the publication which I have shared with you. But we have some. Here's a summative checklist for foreign agencies. What should be done before starting the accreditations in Ukraine? Of course, if you would like to conduct and university would like to have accreditations which will replace the national accreditation, the agency should be in the list of the recognized agencies, which I shared with you in the beginning. So it's 40, by the moment it's 49 acquire registered agencies are in this list. And if they conduct study programs accreditations, their accreditations are recognized as instead or replace the national accreditation. Of course, we have some procedures and universities are aware of them how to apply, but we don't make any additional expertise, or we don't conduct any quality assurance procedures to recognize them. So we simply check their validity and put into the national database. Additional point that because we recognize unconditionally the outcomes of the foreign accreditation, so we would like to raise a point which is mentioned also in key considerations on cross-border quality assurance in EHEA, that to consider national standards and legislation. So because this is replacement of the national accreditation, we highly encourage foreign agencies to contact NACA. We openly share all our documents and everything just to ensure that universities still meet national standards and legislation. Also, we recognize accreditation certificates, final accreditation certificates approved by the boards of foreign agencies. So this should be final decision, not just expert panel report or expert evaluation. So it should be final decision of the agency. Again, because we recognize all the certificates as instead of national accreditation. Also, we suggest to verify against diploma mills. In Ukraine, we have a substantial number of universities, and there were some facts when diploma mills applied to foreign agencies to get foreign accreditations. Also, we have noted that due to the war circumstances, some agencies don't conduct proper site visits. However, due to Ukrainian legislation and ESG 2015, the proper site visit should be conducted. Now they are conducted in Ukraine in 3 modes: as physical visit or hybrid visit or online visit, but we still encourage all agencies to conduct at least hybrid visits. And for regulated specialties like medicine or law and some others, we it is required by law to conduct physical or hybrid site visit. And of course, collaboration with NACA. So we are open to any kind of collaboration. We try to be very responsive and address all requests by foreign agencies in order to support them when they are conducting cross-border quality assurance in Ukraine, because we value the positive effects and benefits and advantages of cross-border quality assurance in Ukraine. Next slide, please. So we have identified some problematic practices, and I don't want to talk a lot about them, but just very briefly, so for instance, we have some cases when conceptual accreditation was provided instead of study programs accreditation. In Ukraine, we have accreditation just for active program delivery. So when the program actually exists, not just is planned. So accreditation is possible only when study programs is really active and there are students, stakeholders are aware of it and it is conducted. Then we had issues when accreditation, again, because of the war and some other circumstances, have been conducted without proper site visit, hybrid or physical, or even online site visit and peer review. Also, there were cases when a foreign agency has not checked if the program is officially registered in Ukraine and just conducted accreditation for a non-registered program. And we, as I mentioned previously, there were a case when a diploma mill has got conditional accreditation, but got it. Next slide, please. So I'm more pleased to speak about best practices, but I will not stop at this slide, and I will finish my presentation because my colleagues will talk about best practices and will showcase the real examples how they conducted successful accreditations for cross-border quality assurance in Ukraine. Now I would like to give the floor to representatives of EPAR. I don't know if Alexander has not joined, right? But we are very pleased to have Blaže Todorovsky, Policy and Project Officer of EQUAR, today with us. So, Blaže, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Tiana. Yes, I will take over the presentation, and I think Alexander he might join as a participant only at the moment. So I will start briefly, and I'll try to keep my presentation within the time frame of 10 minutes. If we can go to the next slide, I will try to cover three main parts. So very brief background information, since looking at the participants, I think that majority of you are aware of the history of the cross-border QA, and so I will not take that much time. Then I will present the system openness to cross-border QA according to ECHAR and to ECHAR's knowledge base. And finally, I will just present brief statistics on the cross-border activities of ECHA registered QA agencies. So if we can go to the next one, next story. Yes, so brief background. As most probably by now everybody knows, at 2007, at the ministerial conference at London, and through the London communique, the ministers encouraged that the E4 group, so ENCA, ESU, EU, and Eurasia, look into and create a register for quality assurance agency with the idea that higher education institutions will be able to choose freely to work with any registered agency, the registered agency on ECHAR. Subsequently, in 2012, in Bucharest at the ministerial conference, that is the first time where in the the ministers made the commitment that signatory countries and EHEA countries will allow ECHA registered quality assurance agency to perform their activities across the EHEA. So the first idea and opening the system to cross-border QA quality assurance happened then. And finally, in 2015, the ministers committed in Yerevan that they will enable higher education institutions across EHEA to use suitable ECHA-registered agencies for their external QA processes. Following that, on the next slide, sorry, some consideration why using cross and having cross-border QA is the idea, like the purpose of allowing higher education institutions to obtain external QA from an agency that is best suited for their needs. Then facilitating the activities of quality assurance agencies whose primary mission is to work internationally, and facilitating recognition and accreditation of joint programs. I mean, there are other more benefits, and I think that my colleague from AIMCA will further cover this, so I will not waste the time. Then if we move to the system openness, so yes, apologies for these ECHAR governmental members on top. The point is that the system openness based on the ECHAR governmental members, EHEA member countries. Basically, the map shows briefly the three types of openness. Well, the level of openness of the system to cross-border QA. As you can see, the darkest blue is countries that recognize the registered agency as part of their national external QA requirements. The lighter blue, the medium blue, recognizing foreign agents. Those countries recognize foreign agency based on their own framework and requirements. And the lightest blue would mean that those countries at the moment or when do not recognize foreign agency as part of the national QA frameworks. This is the current mapping as but in the coming years, the definitions and the openness might be, probably will be revised slightly. If you go to the next slide, where you can find more information on the system openness and cross-border QA for each country. Basically, ECHAR, as I mentioned before, this is part of the ECHAR knowledge base on our website and something that ECHAR works on actively, also through the SICA project that we are partners in, that follows the work of the DPGC on QA. Basically, the ECHAR knowledge base is consisted not only focused on cross-border QA, but here I included only the link for cross-border QA, obviously. But besides the information on cross-border QA on the knowledge base, we also offer general information on the countries, on the EHEA countries, and general information on their system. We also offer information on the on the Bologna process and the European approach for quality assurance of joint programs. If we go to the next one, like the last part that I will cover, and this is related with just a brief presentation on the cross-border activity of quality assurance agencies, and this is just brief presentation that this information is taken from our database of external quality assurance results, and this is just brief overview how the coverage per country looks on DECAR. But if we go to the next slide, and based on this information, we have as part of the studies of one of the DECAR studies in the past in 2022, we will have more new information updated in the plan is to have it in the coming years. So some information might be briefly outdated. We can see brief overview between, for example, on how ECHA, for example, that 2/3 of DECAR of quality ECHA registered agency. At the moment of the study, for example, 2/3 of DECAR contributing agency have carried out at least cross-border QA, which we'll look into later. However, in the meantime, we have majority of quality assurance agency who upload reports on DECAR, almost all, I think, and these numbers will increase. If we go to the next slide, here we would like to present as we can see, the evolution of cross-border QA across the EHEA and based on DECAR data by year. We can, as you can see, after 2022, there is a slight increase, and basically 10% of the activities are cross-border activities, especially for the last 2 years. The information for this year obviously is not fully updated since this data is taken only until September. But looking at the current number and information, most probably 2025 there will be even higher percentage of cross-border quality assurance activities, hopefully more than 10%. And on the next slide, if we look, this is share of cross-border external QA activity results by year comparing to the others, to the other activities domestically. And as you can see, obviously, I mean, from comparing to the previous slide, this corresponds. And as we can see, the practice in the 10 years for the cross-border QA, majority of the activities are actually voluntary. So higher education institutions choose to undergo a cross-border quality assurance by a ECHA-registered agency, probably for enhancement purposes, most probably. But there is some certain share that still uses cross-border QA as part of their obligatory external QA systems. And the last slide, not mistake. Yes, this is just brief overview and comparison of cross-border QA activities by number of countries and higher education institution. The blue dot represents the number of countries, and then the orange one represents the number of higher education institutions covered. This is information based on per ECHA registered agencies who publish results on DECAR. Obviously, this is a live map that is can be checked on ECHA website for statistics more accurately. This is the latest screenshot that has been taken, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. Yes, and yeah, well, I think that, yes, 10 minutes, 27.
Yes, absolutely
I'm
great.
happy to answer later questions if there is any.
Yes, thank you very much, Blaža. Actually, I would like to ask to tell those participants, you have a Q&A function, and if you have any, of course, we have collected questions when you registered, and we try to cover them in our presentation and also during the Q&A session after the all presentations. But please also feel free to submit any questions via Q&A function, and we will also try to cover all of them. And thank you very much, Blaža, for your updates and for those information which you have presented. This is very useful, and actually I'm very interested in the outcome in the statistics regarding the car submitted accreditation. So we now, as a part of our communication with foreign agencies which conduct CBQA in Ukraine, we always ask if these decisions have been submitted to the car, because we have noted that not all of them are submitted to the car. So that's why we always ask for this. Thank you very much. So now I would like to give the floor to Elena Sirlan, Senior Policy and Project Coordinator at ENCA. Elena, thank you very much for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Natalia, for having me. And I hope I'll be as good as Blaža at keeping the time. And he helped somehow with that because he covered some of the information I have also on my slides. Next slide, please. So the first slide I have is also on the EHA commitments that touch upon CBQA and the quality assurance of cross-border QA. And what's important for me to mention, in addition to what Blage already said, is that these commitments were not made just for the sake of commitments. They were to actually serve the needs of institutions that would like to use some quality assurance agencies that are best suited for their aims. But also to have maybe ESG aligned quality assurance agencies to evaluate in case their national agency is not, as well as to allow the joint programs to be evaluated by one agency and avoid overlaps and repetition of evaluations. Next slide, please. And just to say that in the Tirana communique, there is no specific indication or no specific mention of CBQA, but there is a mention of all ministries being on the same page on the fact that all the commitments that are made under the Bologna process should be implemented, including CBQA, that means. So what is actually cross-border QA when we speak about it? It has different forms. So it's the external quality assurance of a higher education institution or program in country A being evaluated from an agency from country B, or external quality assurance of program delivered jointly by higher education institutions from different countries by being evaluated by an agency from either a country where the institutions are located or different ones. Then external quality assurance of institutions or programs in country A jointly being evaluated by agencies from countries A and B. And lastly, the external quality assurance of education by higher education institutions from country A delivered in country B, which means it's transnational education, being evaluated by an agency from country A or other country. A key difference here that is worth mentioning is that external quality assurance may be voluntary, so as an additional activity to the national quality assurance, or as part of the obligatory national external quality assurance process, as you have it in Ukraine, for example. And this difference makes it's really important because when it's voluntary, then of course the national requirements are not so strong, don't play such a strong role, while when it's part of the obligatory national external QA process, then they are much more important to keep in mind and to follow. Next slide, please. So I have this same information, which I'm not going to repeat as Blage has already covered. So next slide. So here we come to barriers to cross-border quality assurance. And as we've seen in the data from ECAR and DECAR, we see that there are countries yet that do not permit under national legislation that the cross-border quality assurance takes place. Or then we have countries where this is permitted in theory, but there are quite some practical burdens for agencies and institutions. And among these burdens are the additional requirements, regulatory requirements, national criteria, the language of the report being requested to be the language of the country, and also finances, like who is actually paying for the review itself. Then we have cases where a cross-border quality assurance is permitted, but only for certain types of higher education institutions or programs. And we know that, for example, in some countries, this is permitted only for joint programs. And more new now, there are countries that allow for cross-border QA only in cases of university alliances. And this is even stipulated in the law. Then there are the cases where CBQA is permitted, but there is lack of transparent information on how the outcomes are recognized. So here it's important to mention that right from the beginning of the process, it's good for to clarify who actually takes the decision on the outcomes, because this then is something that the national agency, as well as the agency or agencies conducting the evaluation, need to be aware of on the same understanding. Next slide, please. Risks of cross-border quality assurance. One of the main issues we've learned about, and these all stem from the feedback and information we received from our members on cross-border quality assurance exercises and the experience they've gathered across the years. And one of the issues is that there is lack of communication from the higher education institution and or the agency that is conducting the evaluation with the local agency. And of course, this then creates a lot of misunderstanding and maybe even expectations being not met when it comes to higher education institutions' expectations. Then agencies working with higher education institutions that are not recognized in the local national framework. This has been also quite an experience local agencies have been reporting about. Higher education institutions seeking external quality assurance for programs have been denied accreditation by the local agency. And this might be very closely related to the first risk, where there is lack of communication. So if there is no communication right from the start of the process, then unfortunately, the situation may end up in a situation where the recognition of the evaluation is not recognized. Then there is lack of transparency over quality assurance of transnational education, and there is creation of a quality assurance market where financial aspects take precedence over quality aspects. And this is a question that we all should have in mind and consider that quality and ethical conduct is at the core of these exercises and needs to be respected, in all the evaluations and all the activities that the agencies conduct. Next slide. Here I wanted to highlight that all parties have responsibility when it comes to quality assurance in higher education. And here specifically with international campuses, institutions have the responsibility to follow, as with national campuses, is quite the same. They need to follow local legislations. They need to embed in local networks and cooperate with local quality assurance agencies to exchange information, to be transparent on what kind of activities they conduct or they intend to conduct rather than already conducted, because we know this then leads to problems. Then quality assurance agencies evaluating institutions with international campuses need to be aware that institution complies with local regulations, and cooperation with local agency again is key here. And for quality assurance agencies working abroad, then of course local legislation should be the starting point when embarking in such an exercise, and then cooperation with the local agency as well. Next slide. Actions agencies can take. So, of course, it stems from what I have already covered in the previous slides. To facilitate accreditation of joint programs and transnational education, quality assurance agencies play quite a role in this. Then, to avoid duplication of external quality assurance activities. And of course, this is then for higher education institutions to have a easier life, so to say, and not go through same kind of exercises again and again. Then allow higher education institutions to benefit from fit-for-purpose external quality assurance that is best suited for their aims and a strategic path. then to ease work of international quality assurance agencies. So in the sense of when there is open communication, when is willingness to share information and to follow up rules, then it's of good collaboration that agencies from both sides share information, but also are positive towards each other's activities, recognize legitimate national level requirements and follow them, as said, improve transparency, ensure consistent and professional work of agencies. And this is very important, to have consistency and professional attitude in the work that is being performed. And it doesn't matter, does it take place within the system or across the border. And reflect on consequences of marketization. Next slide. Work to be done. So this is my last slide, just to highlight. Uh, so the engagement with all stakeholders regarding barriers and risks. And this means that, when collaborating, it doesn't necessarily exclude the stakeholders, but rather include everybody. So having higher education institutions on board, quality assurance agencies and students. Action by national authorities to meet Bologna process commitments and ensure transparency. This is a call that we've been repeating quite a lot in our messages to ministries and to other relevant stakeholders as well. But this is particularly important for cross-border quality assurance and its implementation. Then promotion of ethical practice and guidelines, including the key considerations for cross-border quality assurance, which have been developed by IFO and ECAR. And here I want to also highlight the positive case examples. As Natalia, you mentioned that it's really important to focus on those. Of course, being aware of what was also the lessons that we need to correct, but we also need to look at what works, what actually needs to be brought into light so that everybody learns from these examples. And one good example is the example of NACA now that we discuss with your guidelines now that you've published them, because this will bring transparency for all the parties and hopefully will ease the work in the future years. And last to mention, there is a SICA project, the project that supports the TPGC work. And under that project, we have some initiatives that are directly focused on cross-border quality assurance. And ENQA will coordinate a working group on cross-border quality assurance that is to review and update the key considerations and to prepare a code of good conduct for agencies that work on cross-border. This is what comes next, but there is obviously a work that we will involve our member agencies in. So stay tuned. We will do our best to share information when the calls are up there for the working group and for the other activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elena, and thank you very much for your presentation and for all work which ENCA is doing here. And I fully agree with you regarding the risks which you have mentioned on your slide, because actually this risk we also see in our cases, in case of Ukraine, and I fully agree with the first one, which lack of communication. So if there is lack of communication, if the agencies don't communicate during the cross-border quality assurance, if the universities don't communicate with agencies, so it means so the most problematic cases which I mentioned, they in all of them, so we have not been ever even contacted either by agency or university just to discuss how to proceed properly and so on. But it is my pleasure that in the other cases we have best practices and we have agencies which we have very good relations, communication, and in these cases we really have these good practices, and one of these good practices is Arachi's case. So Arachis has started to conduct cross-border quality assurance in Ukraine during the wartime, and regardless all this challenging time for Ukraine, it was like an action to support Ukrainian universities. And from the very beginning, we had very good communication, and Arachis approached NACA, and we provided Arachis with the information, and we had some meetings. We also nominated some Ukrainian experts to be included into the groups, and we are very happy with this best practice. So I would like to give the floor to our colleagues. And by the way, I would like to benefit from my moderator's role and congratulate Arachis on its 20th anniversary, and wish all the best and thank for all our collaboration in supporting Ukrainian university during the wartime. So I would like to give the floor to Christina Gitulika, so who is Director General Arachis, and then to Christina's colleague, Professor Vertan, who is also going to talk about best practice of Arachis accreditations, cross-border quality assurance in Ukraine. Christina, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Natalia, for the wishes, for the kind words, and for the very fruitful collaboration, and of course, for inviting us to this webinar that we believe it's really timely and very relevant. Also in Romania, there are agencies performing cross-border quality assurance procedures. And we have recognized some of the challenges that you have described. I knew about the guidelines. They are very useful. We also would like to use them. Indeed, that's a topic which is very important and relevant to discuss these days, also because we really want to foster the implementation of cross-border quality assurance, taking advantage of all of the features that brings to national level procedures. But at the same time, of course, we are preoccupied by keeping the fitness for purpose of the whole procedure, knowing that in my country and in your country, there is those procedures are being conducted for accreditation. So it has an impact on the functioning and financing of that program or institution at the national level. You have mentioned already many things that I wanted to present, so for me it's going to be easy. And I will just try to explain which are the principles that we use when conducting cross-border quality assurance procedures. And then Professor Vertan, which coordinated some of those reviews, could add more on how actually this is happening. So indeed, we have been contacted by several universities from Ukraine to provide such external evaluation accreditation procedures. For us, it's a system that we do not know, and of course we do not know details regarding to each institution or even of the higher education system. So what we did was to contact our DACA colleagues, asking firstly about the status of those institutions and programs, previous procedures for evaluation, and there were cases in which we refused to do the evaluation because it wasn't really for us very clear how that institution would position itself in the Ukrainian higher education system. And finally, we have conducting procedures to only one public university, which is Igor Sikorsky Kiev Polytechnic Institute, which is a renowned institution in the field of engineering. We only conducted periodical evaluation procedures. So those programs were previously evaluated by NACA. So that for us, it was really, we were sure that both the institution and the program already have proved quality of education. And actually, I think that the reason for which they turned to us was that they wanted also to have this engineering program label that we provide, which is the EURACE label, which is a specific label for engineering programs. And that was really very important. It's very useful for professional recognition of the diploma. So there were bachelor and master's programs. What we did, of course, was to provide details on our methodology and indicators, and to ask if there are any modifications we should do, any adaptations that there are needed, and it was fine, so we didn't need to do that. And then we just conducted the evaluation just identical, like in the same way with the same amount of resources that we use at the national level. Of course, we could not go there in person. So the evaluations took place in a hybrid mode. And it's important to underline that we value a lot both to have in the panel someone which knows the national rules and systems. So always we have an expert from Ukraine nominated by NACA, by you. But then also to, especially for those EURACE label programs, to have representative of stakeholders which are relevant for the national system in your country. So we also benefit from your support to nominate the student, of course, and then also the employer representative, which is mandatory for a new race label evaluation program. In this way, our Ukrainian colleagues, if I may say so, were able to also go there in person. The other experts were present online. So we managed to really have, a complete like site visit in which, we could understand how all the activities, the infrastructure of the university and of the program, it's established at the level of the university. I would just like to add one thing. Also for us, it was really a very meaningful experience. We have learned a lot from our colleagues and from working together. We also had some experts nominated by CTI, the French agency which is performing engineering program. So it was like a three parties procedure, which was really very interesting. And also, I would like to thank again Natalia for nominating someone from the agency to be as an observer. So for us, that was really very important to make sure that what we do here it's what the system needs and the university needs, and that it's in line with all of the national regulations. So now I will turn to Konstantin. He, as I said, was involved in those procedures, and how maybe he can share really someone from the field how that went. Thank you very much again.
Yes. Thank you very much, Christina. Thank you very much, Natalia, for inviting me. Indeed, I guess I'm here to present what the boots on the ground, although it was a virtual ground, of course, may see out of such a procedure. So I must confess that it was my first evaluation, cross-border evaluation. I was the coordinator named by Arachis for this evaluation of an engineering degree program which has come for reaccreditation. That means external re-evaluation. As Christina already said, the procedure from the Arachis part was almost the same as at national level. The almost meaning that the commission, the external evaluation commission, included indeed an Ukrainian student which was trained by NACA in order to do evaluation in Ukraine, and also a registered evaluator from NACA which was a professor. They did indeed a short visit at Kiev. Well, the times were not very pleasant at the time. It was mid 2023, so there were air raids and alarms and so on. So the ground visit was somehow difficult, but they managed to do it. In our case, it was the student who went visiting the university, and then he performed a report for the rest of a commission on what he has saw. He documented well what he saw with images. Also, we benefited from the teleconferencing mode. So during the usual evaluation time, we had also live video streams from various laboratories that were presented to the external commission. So from this point of view, it felt like we were almost there. So it wasn't such a difficult approach. Okay, I must also stress the fact that our host, that is the Ukrainian counterparts from Kiev Polytechnical University, were indeed very helpful, meaning that they performed whatever they were asked, meaning that if you want to see that lab, okay, we go there and do the filming in that lab. So there was really no problem with that. Uh, I guess that the evaluation went well. Generally, I mean, we did all the steps involved. The decision was finally made. It was rather positive. Not that is an issue. But the issues that we encountered, I guess there are on three levels. First of all, I guess that is always a language barrier when you do a cross-border evaluation, meaning that you must settle for a common language that everybody is, let's say, comfortable with. And also, all the required documentation is already available in that language. Luckily, Google Translate nowadays is of big help for translating a lot of things. You cannot translate, I mean, hundreds of pages, but still, you can find out very small pieces of information that are not there from the start. But having a common ground, a common language ground is very important. Also, I must stress that the Ukrainian part provided translators for Ukrainian English, so it was not a problem with that. The biggest problem was the documentation. Not all internal regulation of the university were available in English. So from this point of view, I guess this is a big caveat when you are doing cross-border evaluation. Are you able, for you, meaning a high level institution, I mean, a university, are you able to provide all the necessary documentation in the language that will be the official language of your evaluation? I mean, this is the first question that must be asked. But we made it well. I mean, it's no problem with that. And the second thing that also was a little bit of a problem was the need to accommodate the different requests or contradictory requests of national legislations, meaning Romania versus Ukraine in their standing laws for the higher education, in their standing requirements regarding, I don't know, the level of expertise of a professor and so on and so on. So obviously there was some common ground, meaning that we fully understand why the laws are requiring what they're requiring. But at some point, you have performance indicators that clearly state, do you respect, I don't know, something? And you don't respect that something because in your country, your laws requires something completely else. And this is a problem, especially in the case where your external audit report is based in a very high measure on numerical indicators. That means you have to put in numbers that are, let's say, above some thresholds or below some thresholds. So do you have specific and strict condition regarding the numbers? And this probably should be mitigated by the quality agencies themselves before starting an audit. I mean, meaning that you know from the start that certain performance indicator will be problematic, and as such, you have some common ground and you instruct specifically your evaluation commission what to do in that case. But finally, it was okay from this point of view also. And the third thing that I have as an experience from that is that probably, strictly speaking from the Ukrainian point of view of what existed at that time uh, in the universities, probably the procedural approach for everything was not quite how to say, was not quite in effect, meaning that a lot of recommendations were given to build up some procedures that allow you to, I don't know, gather the feedback from stakeholders, process that feedback in a certain way, have some feedback loops, and so on and so on. I mean, the things were done, but there was no procedure, no clear methodology that stated you should done it that way. Okay, and this also appeared in the moment where I was as just an expert in another commission that performed the evaluation at master level from the CTI, the Comité de Titres d'Ingénieur of France, where again the lack of procedures or missing procedures was very badly perceived by the French. I mean, they expect procedures and less numbers. Okay. And I said I have three things, but now is the fourth. I mean, the fourth I hopefully will disappear. I
The
promise it's the
final.
last. The final and the fourth is that you should be very flexible with respect to your program of the visit. So we have a program which was proposed. Everybody was agreed with the program, but in mid 2023, it happened that in the middle of some reunion. In Kiev, it was an air alarm, so everybody from Ukraine had to go to shelters. And in the shelters, there was no internet link available because the shelters were underground and so on and so on. So we had to reschedule and rework the program. So you have to be flexible under such tough conditions that are there. So this is my experience. I'm not saying that this is good practice. There are just things that had to be done, and I hope that we have done it in the right way for both Arachis and NAC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Konstantin, for your first-hand experience and for sharing. I hope this will be helpful for foreign agencies to consider these points, which actually very important during cross-border quality assurance. And we highly appreciate all our collaboration with Arachis, because this is really, we work together to support universities, and the aim of this foreign accreditation was very important, and that's why we think it's very good practice. So thank you very much. And as Konstantin mentioned, it was one of the issue, language issue and documents. So from the next good practice, I got feedback from some universities which had institutional accreditation from Haka. So they said, so we had to translate. So it was very good exercise for us, because we translated all documents into English, and now we have the whole package of documents in English. So was very important. So it's one of the positive outcomes from the Haka institutional accreditation, but it's also very good practice, because as I mentioned, there is no institutional accreditation procedures launched in Ukraine yet from NACA perspective. I mean, we don't have national institutional accreditation at the point that it was legislatively postponed till the end of the war. But we highly appreciate that institutional accreditation procedures now are used for quality enhancement. So this is absolutely voluntary, and universities are not obliged to do this, but they do it for ensuring quality. We are very happy with this project, which was conducted between NACA and Haka regarding institutional accreditation of Haka. Haka in Ukraine. So I would like to welcome Haley Mattison, director of Haka, and also Hilar Bauman, who is assessment manager in higher education. The floor is yours, colleagues.
Thank you, Natalia. I am very happy to present you our joint project. The title is Enhancement of Higher Education Quality in Ukraine, and it is, as Natalia said, about piloting institutional accreditation in Ukraine. And next slide, please. So the objective of this project was to support the development and implementation of the institutional accreditation model in Ukraine. And this project was financed by Estonian Center for International Development Cooperation. We had very good cooperation with NACA also before, and in 2023 they approached us and requested, is it possible to have such project to pilot institutional accreditation in Ukraine? Because in Estonia we are next year already starting third cycle of institutional accreditation, so we have already some experience. Next slide, please. And Ukrainian colleagues know very well that in Ukraine there are about 500 higher education institutions with more than 25,000 study programs. And this system is very resource intensive and maybe also unsustainable, but because I cannot imagine how it's possible to accredit all 25,000 study programs in 5 years, even if no war. Next slide, please. So, and about the project itself, we started in May last year with the development of guidelines for institutional accreditation together. We did it here in Tallinn with NACA colleagues together. And as I said, now we are starting our third cycle of institutional accreditation, but we had look on the previous our regulations and decided to stop on our first institutional accreditation regulation, what is also what passed also ENCA assessment, so it's fully compliant with ESG, and amended this regulation with some contemporary but also Ukrainian-specific things, and developed the regulation for the institutional accreditation. Then NACA colleagues announced public competition who would like to be the volunteers to participate in this accreditation. And we received 14 applications, and we selected 3 institutions based on some criteria we stated before. And then we had separate trainings, both 2 days trainings for all 3 institutions together with NACA colleagues, Haka and NACA colleagues. So NACA colleagues were there in the universities on site, and we were online in October. It was done. And then we together formed the assessment panels. So in all 3 panels, we had 3 experts from Ukraine and 3 from Estonia. And also for the mutual learning, what was very important, we had 2 coordinators of the panel, one from NACA and one from Haka. And after that, we had, of course, trainings, several sessions for the experts, and also site visits at the end of May, beginning of June this year, so that Ukrainian experts were on site and Estonian experts participated online. And I should say that everything what we planned actually it went according to the plan. So we had no delays. Everything was done on time. Even if there were some difficulties, of course, also air alarms and bomb shelters. Some interviews were conducted from the bomb shelters, but I was maybe surprised that actually the internet connection from the bomb shelters was even better than in the classroom. And of course, for the experts, it was not easy. We had case when one expert had no possibilities to sleep in her own bed 10 nights in a row because of the attacks. But even in that case, she managed to finish her job on time. And at the end of August, the accreditation decisions were made by HACA Council, and the reports and decisions, they are both available on HACA website and also in the CAR. And we were very happy to participate in the Ukrainian Quality Assurance Forum in September in Lutsk, a very representative forum, more than 800 participants from the most of Ukrainian universities. And there the 3 universities received their accreditation certificates, but we had also very good roundtable about this project with very active participations of different universities from Ukraine. And I should say that following Ukrainian forum, actually, we together will present with Natalia also the results of this project in our paper presentation on European Quality Forum in Budapest in November. So it's 45 minutes and we can tell you there more, and you can read also the paper itself. And what is left in this project for this year, we plan to conduct the feedback seminars in the participated universities in November this year. And I should also say what Natalia said, that this project was very successful, and according to the feedback from the Ukrainian Quality Assurance Forum, I'm sure that for the next maybe cycle of institutional accreditation, we will have more applications than just 14 universities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hilar. This is very good experience, as I mentioned previously, and Hilar has confirmed. And actually, Hilar mentioned that the connection from the bomb shelters was very good. However, previous speaker, Konstantin, mentioned that the connection was bad. But let's point out that Arachis conducted the procedures in early 2023, and now HACA conducted in mid 2025. So now almost all universities have shelters with good internet connections, and that's it. So this issue has already been addressed. So this is the different.
Just one more thing, yes. So I have one more slide just to say that in Estonia, the institutional accreditation is the only regular quality assessment, but we have experience and we have a regulation also on the study programs accreditation, so it's also available on our website, and some experience also abroad we have for the study programs accreditation.
Thank you very much, Hilar. And I would like to say apologize that we a bit out of time because we still have 10 minutes of webinar, but we have already integrated the all questions into the presenters' speeches, and we have one more case. Also first-hand experience. And last but not least, I would like to invite Henning Schaffer, Managing Director of Ziva, to talk about Ziva experience. And actually, I should mention that Ziva has started accreditations in Ukraine even earlier than NACA did, because Ziva has started accredited Ukrainian university in 2015, if not, I'm not mistaken. But NACA was launched only in 2019. So, and Ziva actually has the largest number of cross-border quality assurance procedures of study programs accreditation in Ukraine. Henning, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I had prepared a presentation, but as is the problem, if you're the last presenter, everything I wanted to say has been said before. So I will mostly dispense with the presentation and just talk about something that we haven't talked about before, and that's the question of marketization. Elena has talked about that a little bit, and speaking as the representative of an agency who works in an open market in Germany is, of course, a rather different experience than maybe Aracis or Haka have, because in Germany we are all private agencies competing in an open market against each other, and since now 11 agencies are active, it's a very competitive market. So there's a lot of pressure on pricing. And one of the reasons why we go international is because the German market is shrinking, and because the international market is much more relaxed, and it's much less problematic for us to raise prices that are actually paying our bills. So we have to cover our costs, and that's increasingly difficult in Germany, but it's much easier in the market internationally, because in Germany, most of the procedures are now offered as an open tender. So we are always competing against other agencies. And of course, there's a lot of focus on the price. In international procedures, and that goes for Ukraine as well, we are contacted by a university that specifically wants to work with us. So they don't shop around. They don't take in competitive offers. They go to us because we are who they want to work with for whatever reason ever, no? Because they heard good things about us and whatever. So this is for us a lot easier, and so we can take the prices that we need. The only problem with that was more in the beginning, when we could still travel to Ukraine. We started out, as Natalia said, even before there was a national agency, and started naturally with private universities that had no problem of covering our costs. But when it came to public universities, at a time when we could still travel to Ukraine, there were regulations that prevented them from paying us what we needed, because the regulations said that a cross-border accreditation should cost no more than a national accreditation, which is of course problematic if you consider the travel costs. This is something that we at the moment don't have to think about, but once we can travel to Ukraine again, of course this is a big cost issue for the universities involved. And another issue that has arisen since the war is, of course, how to pay for these procedures. Because for many universities, it is hard to transfer money out of the country. So this is an issue that we've dealt with, and so many Ukrainian universities have international partners and use their accounts to pay for our procedures, which has worked quite well with CEFA in the past. And to be quite frank, our our procedure of payment is such that we do not start work unless we have already received at least a large amount of the payment. Some universities want to pay everything in advance. Usually we have several installments, but the first installment is always a very big part of it because we want to make sure that the university is able to pay, which is important for us. We cannot work for free. So these are, of course, considerations of a market situation. I mean, of course, there are several agents and if the universities cannot pay for our costs, then we go elsewhere. So because our international procedures are not limited to Ukraine, so we can also work in other countries, and it would not be prudent for us to take prices that do not cover our costs just to accommodate universities. These are also all considerations. So the danger of paying too much attention to prices and thus lowering the quality for us, I think, is much lower than it is in the German market. Maybe only a few other things that we've encountered. The one thing I already said is a problem for the universities, how to pay an international agency. The other is that we've also worked with universities that have a lot of international students. So, and before the war, of course, these students were in Ukraine and came to Ukraine and or had at least a part of their studies in Ukraine, but now they can't go there. So what do these universities do? They try to go online. They try to establish offshore campuses where they can offer some teaching in presence, especially for those subjects that you cannot simply teach only online, like medicine or something. So if this is the case, you need international partners. At least you need to work with partners in the countries where the students are coming from to provide them with some practice that you cannot provide online, and they cannot come to Ukraine. So this has been an issue, and this has to be observed, of course. And these are things that we encountered. For the most part, what we've done has worked quite well, also through collaboration with NAQUA and with another agency in Ukraine that has provided us with experts. I cannot stress enough how important it is for us to have experts from Ukraine that go to the university to see the facilities and also to help us understand the national requirements. Something that has always helped us is if we have a Ukrainian expert from the labor market, because they do not only understand the higher education system, but also the requirements of the labor market in Ukraine. And of course, your main interest for Ukrainian universities is to provide staff for the labor market. So that's an important part. So these are mostly the things that I wanted to add. In the other cases, I can only agree with. We are in close cooperation and collaboration always with NAQUA. We always talk and we always ask them if there are some cases that might seem dodgy, and we've also refused some to work with some universities that did not seem to be properly recognized or did not seem to be well, very serious in their proceedings and very professional. So this is something that has worked quite well for us. And we always tell our experts not only to observe the national requirements, but also the national context. Experts sometimes tend to think too much in what they experience at home. But of course, we all have to observe the ESG. So there's international standards. But if I have an expert from Germany, do not judge this too much according to your experience in your German university. But be open for the way things are done in Ukraine and for the situation at the university. I mean, we've worked with universities that do not have intact buildings anymore, but are still trying to go on. Natalia, I remember the shock we had when we were in the SEQA ESG proceedings in Budapest and had our video conference with your colleagues, and in the middle they just said, "Oh, wait a minute, we just have to switch to the bunker," and they had to go down, and a few minutes later, they went on talking with us from the bomb shelter, and this seemed so natural to you, which is of course sad and terrible, but this is something that we have to consider when we work with universities in Ukraine. And there were one or two cases also where contracts did not come to pass because the university just wasn't there anymore, because they couldn't uphold their programs anymore. And so this is something that we always have to be aware of in the current situation. And we sincerely hope that at some point in the not too distant future, this can be resolved in a way that we can come again to your beautiful country and see these universities for ourselves. So thank you, Natalia, for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Henning. Thank you very much for your points. And as from Piers Villon, also from Ziva and other colleagues, this is very important for us. And dear colleagues, I would like to thank all speakers. I don't see any questions in Q&A in Q&A function. And we try to incorporate all questions which have been submitted during the registration of the participants into our comments. So I would like to thank colleagues from Enka, Equar, from Arachis, from Ziva, from Haka for all your support. And we highly appreciate collaboration with NACA because we learn a lot from our international colleagues, and we try to incorporate your best practices into our practices. But also thank you very much for supporting our universities, because we think that cross-border quality assurance, let me say quality cross-border quality assurance is very important for Ukrainian universities. We really believe in cross-border quality assurance, and we believe that there are more benefits than drawbacks. And we appreciate that we work together to address those challenges and risks which we have just mentioned. And we highly appreciate ENCA and the QUAR efforts to to address these issues right now and to develop a code of conduct for the agencies and raising these ethical issues and ethical points. So I believe that working together will bring a lot of benefits for all stakeholders and support Ukrainian universities even during the very challenging times. So thank you very much, colleagues. Sorry we didn't have too much time for discussion, but the first-hand experience was very important, so thank you for sharing it. Thank you very much, and let's hope we will have another webinars to discuss these issues. Bye.
Thank you, Natalia, and all the best to you and to the representatives of the institutions which are there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentations. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.